Hello and welcome back to the G5 Family channel. Hope you're doing well, and thanks for clicking in on this video. I hope you find it helpful. Today we're going to be talking about filing your 13A, your Philippines 13A permanent resident visa. Only we're going to be talking about filing it while you're still in the US. Now, if you followed my channel, you already know that I have put up videos about this process, only filing from the Philippines. So you saw a video where I talked about the probationary process and then followed on by the PRV process, which is your permanent resident visa. And I have fully accomplished those. Those are done. Okay. But I have gotten a lot of questions, a lot of inquiries about filing in the US. Now, if I had known before coming to the Philippines what I know now, I would have absolutely made it every priority to file for this visa while I was still in the US. The main thing is it's easier and it's faster. There's no travel involved. Most of it is done by mail. In fact, it's my understanding now, I can be corrected on this, but it's my understanding that you don't even have to go for the in-person interview anymore. But in any case, it's easier, it's cheaper, it's faster, okay? So going through those processes here in the Philippines, you know, it's a lot of traveling, multiple trips, and all the expense that goes along with that. So I don't mean to repeat myself, but it's worth repeating that if I had known then what I know now, I would have gotten this done then. So I highly recommend it. And just to name a couple more reasons why, when you come to the Philippines, you come in on either a balik beyond with your Filipino mate, spouse, or you come in on a tourist visa. The balik beyond is a 1 year, the tourist is a 29-day. So, you know, depending on how long you stay, your initial visa is good for up to 3 years, and you're going to be extending, especially if you come in on a tourist visa. You're going to be extending every 2 months, 6 months, you know, whatever. Okay. So this 13A nips all of that in the bud. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to hassle with it. You come in, you do your 1 time per year annual visit, and that's it. Now, as a result of being asked about it, I have dug in. I took Philippine embassies or the consular services from both Washington, D.C. and Los Angeles and compared notes to pull the requirements, because it does appear that the list of requirements is slightly different according to your your Philippines embassy. Now, you'll have to take it upon yourself to figure out which embassy you'll be reporting to. You may already know, but in any case, you'll need to go to the consular service that supports where you live. So that's based on region. All right. And then there's going to be a couple of things that you want to do before you actually dive into the requirements. Not to say that you can't go ahead and work on those things too, but there's a couple of things that you want to do in advance. And I've got my notes here. The first thing you're going to need is you're going to need to get a PSA. That's a Philippines report of marriage certificate. So you got married in the US, you would have filed a report of marriage with the Philippines embassy, and then you would have gotten that back along with a Philippines certified marriage certificate. So if you're like me, you have your American marriage certificate, and then you have your Philippines marriage certificate. You will need that document, absolutely. The next thing you'll need is a certified copy of your Filipino spouse's birth certificate. And both of these documents that I'm talking about can be gotten at the same online. You can order them, they come to you in the mail, and I'll provide a link to that so you can go on and acquire those. You will have to have them, okay? And then thirdly, you're going to need a police report. And having never gone through this myself, I was kind of like, how in the world would I get a police report? Well, I researched it and discovered that it's actually really easy. You just go to your state website, and it's a small fee. I think it was like $15, and they send it to you electronically. Now, I don't think having a criminal record is necessarily a deal killer, but you know, they're going to look at that, and they're probably going to take more time in processing and approval. So, but in any case, you're going to need those 3 items. You're going to need your marriage certificate from the Philippines. You're going to need your Filipino spouse's birth certificate, certified birth certificate, and then you're going to need a police report. Now, there's also a couple of other things, but I'm going to go through these in numeric order. So let's just switch over here to, all right, here we go. Okay, so you'll see on the right panel, I want you to look at the right panel first, and you'll see here that we have the list of requirements. Now, as I said, I referenced the Washington, D.C. first, and then I added additional requirements that were listed on the Los Angeles embassy to supplement this list. They're 99% the same. There was just a couple of things slightly different, and I'll go through those. Okay, so number 1, super easy. Your actual passport of applicant, valid at least 1 year from date of application, and 1 photocopy of the data page. Okay, so you are going to provide them your passport. You will be putting that in the envelope and mailing that to the embassy. It's just the way it is. And by the way, I've done this numerous times through my different processes, and I never had any problem. I always got it back. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, you're going to need I'm just going to read these, 1 original and 1 photocopy of the duly accomplished immigration application form. Now, if you look on the left-hand panel, that's this document right here. And I will send you links. I will put links in the descriptions to all of these documents so that you can go and download them yourself, no problem. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. Number 3, straightforward stuff here. 4 identical color photos, 2x2, just passport photos. So you'll need 4 of those included in the packet. It does go into some details here. White background, no sleeveless attire, blurred or low quality photos are not going to be accepted. So, all right, so number 4, 1 original and 1 photocopy of documentary evidence to prove spouse's Philippines citizenship. And that's where I mentioned earlier about the PSA birth certificate. Now, one side note that I'll mention real quick, it may be that your wife has an NSO certified birth certificate. That's acceptable. NSO is what it used to be called, and then a few years ago they changed to PSA. So either the NSO birth certificate or the PSA birth certificate. That will prove her citizenship. And by the way, you're not going to get any complaints if you also include a copy of her passport. Now, you don't need to send her original passport. You but as an extra layer, just throw in a copy of the passport. And then to show applicant's relationship to the Philippine citizen, i.e. Philippine passport and PSA marriage certificate. So now you're proving that you are married by showing your marriage certificate, your report of birth certificate. And all of these documents can be ordered on the same link at PSA. You pay online, you get it back in the mail. It's super easy. Okay. All right. So number 5. Now this is also something that I never had to do, but there is a document. I'll pull it up here on the left panel. And I did verify this across the different embassies. It is the same document, but essentially duly accomplished by a licensed physician, of course, which should include his contact details and which should not be more than 6 months from the date of your application, together with lab reports, original and 1 photocopy. Also, you need x-rays, a chest x-ray, the negative, standard size, or on CD, which we don't do CDs anymore, DVDs anymore, but you can. And the x-rays, you can request a CD or DVD to be presented to the embassy, and then you will hand carry that to the Philippines the next time you travel to the Philippines. Okay. And then number 7, yeah, here we go. Number 7. Now I pulled up Texas because that's where I'm from, but you will need a certificate of no police record from place of residence of applicant, original and 1 photocopy. Again, you fill out this form, you file it online, you pay online, and it comes to you in the mail. So really easy, and from what I understand, it's very fast. All right, so number 8, they want to know how much money you make, okay? 1 original and 1 photocopy of evidence of sound financial status, whether that's real estate, investments, bank certification, pension, notarized affidavit of support from a relative in the Philippines with attached documents. Yeah, that's a lot of words. Basically, all I did was I provided my bank statements for 3 months. I showed my savings, and I think that's it. You know, the bank statement showed the incoming deposits. They just want to be able to know that you're not a deadbeat and, you know, that you can afford to take care of yourself and take care of your wife and family. So that's pretty simple, okay? All right, now number 9, personal appearance for interview. It is my understanding from all of my research that the personal interview is no longer required. You'll just have to feel that one out. Now, obviously, you're not going to mail yourself in the packet, so I'm sure once they receive the packet, they'll notify you if there needs to be an in-person interview. And then number 10, self-addressed return envelope. You're going to be doing this USPS. There's no FedEx. I did that, and it worked just fine, but you're going to want to create a manila folder that's identical to the one that you're shipping your stuff in, and then just have it already self-addressed and stamped with the same amount of postage, fold it in half, stick it in your packet, and mail it along with your documentation. They'll turn around, once it's finished, they'll put all the stuff into that envelope and send it back to you. Okay, the visa fee is $150, which, by the way, is almost the exact same amount as it was to file my processes here. Again, guys, I'm telling you, it is so awesome that you can do this in the US because, you know, I paid for the extensions, I paid for all of the travel back and forth to the Bureau of Immigration offices, etc., etc., etc. So, you know, it gets really costly. By doing it in the US before you come over, it's so great and such a huge savings, not only of money, but time and hassle. Okay, so visa fee of $150, non-refundable, payable in cash or money order made payable to Embassy of the Philippines or Philippine Consulate General. If application is made at one of the Philippine Consulates General in the US, personal checks and credit cards are not accepted. So I wouldn't mail cash, guys. I would get a money order, you know, a money order, a cashier's check, whichever, it'll be fine. All right, so that is the list of requirements according to the Washington, D.C. As I mentioned, there were some other requirements that I found on the Los Angeles site. And just to look at those right quick, normally your passport is all that they need. And according to the list of requirements on Washington, D.C., the passport is enough. But the Los Angeles office asks for original and 2 photocopies of the applicant's apostilled birth certificate, and then original and photocopy of a notarized letter from the Filipino spouse requesting or petitioning the issuance of an immigrant visa to his or her foreign spouse. Now, that was a requirement on this end. I've got just a little scribble here, "Dear Sir," and this would come from your Filipino spouse. "Dear Sir, may I respectfully request a non-quota immigration visa under Section 13, Paragraph A of the Philippines Immigration Act as amended in favor of my foreign spouse, an American national. I am," and then put her name, "a Philippine citizen. We were married in the state of wherever on whatever date." All right, guys, so that's it. I mean, basically, that's it. It's not really that difficult. And in fact, by doing it in the US before you move to the Philippines, now, if you're coming over here to visit, that's different. But if you're moving to the Philippines, you want to get this done. And here's the funny thing. You'll never really appreciate it because you won't have experienced all of the hassles that go with extending your tourist visas, you know, the travel that's involved to these Bureau of Immigration offices, all the hassle, and not to mention the expense. So you'll just take it for granted that it was so easy. And if you follow these instructions, it will be super easy. Even though you'll never get to experience the benefits, you will be experiencing the benefits. So learn from my experience and for yourself, get this done before you move to the Philippines, okay? So with that, I'm going to wrap up. I'm just going to tell you thank you. I'm assuming that you've already hit subscribe. I'm assuming that you've already hit like because you appreciate this information. So thank you for that. And if you have any questions, or if especially if you're thinking about moving over here and you're wondering, how will I this or how will I that, drop a comment and let me know, because I love making these videos. Just this week I did a video on how I find the sweet spots that are not listed or advertised in mainstream travel sites. I did a video on that, and then yesterday I did a video on how I shop and source products that are not necessarily available here. I mean American brand products or American even style or type products that you can't source here locally in the Philippines. I show you how I do all my price comparisons and how I look at different shipping options and things like that. All right, guys, thanks again for watching, especially if you hung out all the way to the end, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks.